Hi, my name's Lacey. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I'd like to note that I understand that each and every pregnant person's journey is unique, just like each birth is unique. And I tell you my personal journey to give you an insight on my experience that has brought me to trust and love midwifery. I hope that by the end of this video, you have a lot of new information to help you make the best choice for yourself. I had my first child in 2006. I planned for a hospital birth and was planning on an epidural. There were complications with my breathing and I needed oxygen, and my daughter had meconium aspiration. She was taken out of the room. I spiked a fever and I did not get to see her until the next day. I didn't have support with breastfeeding and I felt overwhelmed, and I succumbed to the pressures to give her formula through a bottle instead of being met with options and breastfeeding support. My second child was born in 2010. I wanted a natural birth. I chose a hospital birth because I felt that it was safer. He was born on the 23rd of December. My waters were artificially ruptured and I was given Pitocin to speed up labor. This gave me a lot more pain in my labor when I got the epidural, and I felt like it was sped up so that my doctor could deliver the baby and then head out for her family Christmas vacation. She ended up missing the birth anyways, and another doctor that I didn't know delivered my son. My third child was born naturally at a birth center in 2015. I can honestly say the support I received was so helpful, and the energy I had made labor not hurt at all. I left and felt completely relaxed after labor. It was about 6 hours from start to finish, and my daughter latched within the first hour and successfully breastfed past 2. My youngest child I had in February 2023. He was born at home. My labor was more intense, and it was also the shortest labor, about 3.5 hours from first contraction to birth. I was overwhelmed with the feeling of pushing, and I naturally followed my instincts and only pushed twice. This was my most empowering birth, and I felt really good about myself and the experience. I asked myself why I had so many different birthing experiences. I feel like the biggest impact was me not even understanding it was an option to have a different kind of birth the first time around. The second time around, I was feeling like it was safer to do in a hospital, and I still didn't understand the full aspect of a home birth or even a birth center birth. The fears that I had that were associated to midwifery were very common fears, and I want to talk about some of those common fears. Some birthing people are afraid that they may not make it to the hospital in time if they need to be transferred out of midwifery care. In reality, midwives are highly trained to know when a transfer needs to happen, and they're able to safely facilitate that transfer while staying with the birthing person through the transfer journey. These transfers are then transferred to medical professionals that are highly trained for complications in birth. Between 2000 and 2015, approximately 6.6% of planned out-of-hospital birth attempts in Utah resulted in a transfer to a hospital facility. Midwives also see healthy and physiologically normal pregnancies. They're fully trained on what to do in an emergency situation. A huge fear is the amount of pain being too much for a birthing person to withstand, and TV shows have not aided to this perception in a positive way. Birth can be an enjoyable experience. Midwives are highly trained in pain management and birthing positions to help manage what pain is being experienced, and they are a great support for emotional and physical needs. Some birthers, like me, wanted to do a natural birth, but they're inundated with outside pressures or comments that make them feel like they can't or shouldn't follow what their desires are. It's important to note that even though there are 2 different kinds of models of care, not all midwives have the midwifery model of care, and not all OBGYN and doctors have the medical model of care. Some of the differences between the models can make a huge difference in the comfort and joy that you're going to find in your in your birthing experience and also throughout your pregnancy. Like I talked about with the birth of my oldest son, my OBGYN was always busy and appointments ran late. My son was delivered by an on-call doctor, and the continuity of care from a midwife means that you will have the person who you know at your birth. It won't be a surprise change. This helps to feel comfortable while you're birthing and ensures the person attending your birth knows exactly what your wants are. This also lowers the chance of needing pain management when you're in the right state of mind during your labor. Studies show that you're more likely to have unnecessary complications and higher rates of preterm birth when needing to be seen by someone that's practicing the medical model. When you are under a midwifery model of care, you're more likely to have satisfaction of your birth, and lower costs are associated with your birth as well. With the medical model, there's an increased chance of death, and it is not any safer than the midwifery model of care. Studies also show that you're more likely to have a C-section, have tearing, and receive more interventions. One of the biggest worries that I've heard from people is the worry of hemorrhaging when you're birthing at home. But studies actually show that you're more likely to have hemorrhaging at the hospital. In the midwifery model, at a home birth, you're also less likely to have a baby that needs oxygen or has meconium aspiration. I'm going to read a couple statistics to you. These statistics are hard to read, and they're also hard to hear. So if you need to skip this part of the video, go ahead and do so. I tell you these things just to give you information on some issues with the medical model of care. Non-Hispanic, Black, and African Americans have almost 2.5 times higher infant mortality rate as non-Hispanic whites. Non-Hispanic, Black, African American infants are almost 4 times as likely to die from complications related to low birth weight as compared to non-Hispanic white infants. In 2020, non-Hispanic Black African American mothers were twice as likely to receive late or no prenatal care compared to non-Hispanic white mothers. Midwives allow you to have a safe hands-on experience with your birth with complete informed consent, with an educated birth team that supports your health while providing holistic methods to pain management. Remember the facts. The hospital transfer rates are low in midwifery. If a transfer does happen, there's plenty of time to get transferred in an emergency. Did you know when someone is giving birth at a hospital, it can take up to 30 minutes to prep the OR for a C-section? Midwives are highly educated in what a normal birth looks like. They're trained to see when something's not normal and know when those situations should be transferred to hospital care. Birth is a normal process, and occasionally it can turn something that's not normal. This is why midwives are highly trained to recognize these changes, and they're also certified in life-saving measures. If midwifery care is something that you want, please know that you're supported and safe in making that choice. Like Marie Curie said, nothing in this life is to be feared. It is to only be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and I really hope this helps you make some choices with informed consent.